Longtime voice of the Dolphins, Joe Rose, joins the program today to talk about this Dolphins offseason, the Connor Williams holdout, what he really likes about the composition of this team, and where things may still need to be tinkered as we get ready for 2023.
You are Locked On Dolphins, your daily Miami Dolphins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Miami. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Dolphins. It is your team every day. It is Wednesday, June 7th, 2023. Want to thank you guys for making Locked On Dolphins your first Miami Dolphins listen of the day. Special shout out to our everydayers who are locked in on a daily basis. I'm your host, Kyle Krebs, lifelong Miami Dolphins fan, host of Locked On Dolphins, co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting podcast. You can find our shows on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Today on the show, got a special treat for you. First and foremost, it's brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNFL. When you enter promo code LockedOnNFL, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. We have Joe Rose joining the show. Joe is a good friend. Gotten to know him really well over the last couple of years. He's been on the program a bunch. I was on Joe Rose show on Tuesday morning yesterday on WQAM, talking Dolphins football in the midst of all of this push for the season. Well, haven't done the radio hit. Wanted to get on with Joe and talk about the Connor Williams holdout. And he kind of wanted to go off on the defensive side of the ball about what he loves so much about the composition of this team. And we had a great discussion, and I'm excited to bring it to you. So without further ado, we're going to rope Joe right in, and let's dive in head first with Joe Rose, talk a little Dolphins football. Back by popular demand, Mr. Joe Rose, longtime visitor of the show. Of course, Dolphins fans, if you're in South Florida, you're probably well familiar with Joe and his resume as a player and personality around the team for a very long time. Dear friend of mine, Joe, we haven't had you on a while, but it's starting to feel like football season. We're getting back in the swing of things. How are things? Good to see you.
It's good to see you, Kyle, and you're right. Listen, anytime you want to talk about the team, I feel the same way having you on in the morning, that it's always good, man. I tell everybody, they ask me about you, I said, that guy's connected. He's knowledgeable. It's for real what he brings. So always look forward to it with you, bud. Always.
So when I came on in the radio yesterday on Tuesday, we talked about a bunch of stuff with the team. But then shortly after it came out that starting Dolphin center Connor Williams was not attending mandatory minicamp. And the Dolphins throughout the years have seen their fair share of player holdouts and looking for new contracts and all that kind of stuff. And I guess just some of your thoughts. I'd love to hear it since we didn't talk about it yesterday because it came out shortly after we talked with the news that Connor Williams not attending mandatory minicamp in the last year of the 2-year, $14 million deal that he signed with the team last offseason.
So I'm surprised. Matter of fact, on the show yesterday, I did talk about I don't expect anybody to hold out. I thought everybody'd be there. I know some guys, Sealer, would like to get a new contract. I mean, we've got some guys that are deserving of new contracts, no question about it, especially on the defensive line. But I'm a little surprised by Connor. Had a great year, by the way. Great move for the Dolphins to get him and bring him in, a guy that played guard mostly and have vision that he could be such a good center. One of the great surprises of our football team last year was how good and durable he was at center. After the year before, we went through 3 or 4 different centers and everybody was injured and not necessarily productive. So it was really nice having him. He was solid as a rock all season, graded out really well. And so I'm surprised that he wouldn't show up because, listen, it's still a lot of money. You can get done. They're not going to do that much. It's hard to get hurt at one of these mini camp practices. So I'm a little surprised he's not there. And he's a Drew Rosenhaus guy. And that surprises me because I know Zach Sealer's not happy with his contract. He's also represented by Drew Rosenhaus. And he was there. Is that what you told me today?
Yeah.
He was there at practice. I'll be there tomorrow. But again, I hope the team can take care of them. They got a little bit of money, take care of some of these guys. We're talking about some really good football players. And listen, I know Liam Eichenberg has already come out and said they've asked him to go from left guard and play some center and OTAs. That's not the answer. That is not the answer. You've got a really good center. To me, we're still a little shorthanded on the offensive line. Let's take care of or try to Band-Aid finance this situation and get him happy and get him back.
I guess my next question for you, kind of in that same light, is you referenced some of that money that came courtesy of the Byron Jones salary cap relief as a post-June 1st designated cut. And so the Dolphins are sitting at about $13.5 million. They still have to sign just one of their rookies from their rookie class, Cam Smith, and even with the rookie wage scale being what it is, that's going to have a marginal dent in that 13.5. You're going to have over $13 million after you sign Cam Smith. Do you think the dollars that they have at their disposal, having kind of that extra money to tap into from a cap perspective, you think it'd be wise for the Dolphins to take care of some of these guys but not use any more cap space than they need to? Or do you think it would be better for them to dump some more of the salary cap hit for a new contract for a guy like Connor Williams into this year to make the cap hit for 2024 not as intense, because we know the Dolphins are going to be tight against the cap in 2024 as well?
Yeah, no. Listen, that those are great conversations for the GM, the head coach, to talk about how they want to spend that money, right, and priority list. And so here's the situation. You've got two really good defensive tackles and make up, I would say, together, along with Raekwon, those three guys are really, really good together. And two of the better players on the team. And now you throw in a center. They're pretty important positions in what needs to be a must-win year now. It's the best roster we've had in a long, long time. But you need all those pieces. They're all important, and you want to add on to them. So you threw me a little curveball on Connor already, basically saying I'm going to sit out, or I've just outplayed this contract and I want to be taken care of. I know where I graded out. So the team's going to have to make some tough decisions. Really, they've got all three of them under contract, right? With a tag and a year left on their contract. So this could be a little bit of a strong arm situation. I understand you can't take care of everybody. I understand everybody's going through this on their roster a little bit. Somebody outplayed their contract that's still really good, and it's like, I don't want to play for that amount of money. I want something new. You've taken care of other guys on the team. I know how important the offensive line is too. That's a tough one. It's a tough call. Plus, hey, you still may want to add some pieces to this thing. You want to keep a little bit of money in the bank. Boy, that's a tough call, but I will tell you, you're shorthanded on that offensive line. You really are. As much as, and I love the defense, and there'll be another day. I don't know if we have time to talk about it, but I really like the front and back end, especially of this defense, and how good I think it can be if guys play up to the way we know they can, with Vic Fangio letting them run a little bit, giving them a little freedom to really get after it. But that offensive line, that Connor Williams thing, I'm not one of these guys that believes you can just go out and find a center, a guy that can shotgun snap it and pick up coverages and fronts and all the things you need, your strength left, strength right, all the things that you have to do to help Tua Tagovailoa out at quarterback. That guy's pretty important. And I'm guessing he knows he's pretty important to this thing and giving Tua less things to worry about when he's playing center.
Before we go any further with our discussion with Joe, and there's a lot of great conversation that is coming, got to stop and tell you about our friends over at Bird Dogs. Here's the thing about Bird Dogs. You got to look good to play good. Bird Dogs helps you do it. These are khaki shorts that are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg to give you a more sculpted look. Skies out, thighs out. It's a way of life. Those of you who know. And if you don't, now's your perfect chance. They do the same thing that Lululemon shorts do, but they do it way better. They fit better than regular shorts that are kind of stuffy and stiff and made of cotton and get hot and congested, and that's no fun. These things breathe too. Go to birddogs.com/lockedonnfl and enter promo code LockedOnNFL for a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/lockedonnfl for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You don't want to take your Bird Dogs off once you put them on. I promise you that. And that's the kind of, we kind of heard those inklings throughout the course of last season too, that Connor is, from a pre-snap perspective and communication perspective, has a heavy hand. So never mind the athleticism and the range and what he actually did after the snap, but his role, and they bet big on him when they signed him last year to move him to center, and it ended up being a stroke of brilliance. He was really effective. Have to think that's probably one that if Connor's going to push, I would probably be inclined to think that Miami will meet him, even if it's a short-term Band-Aid, versus calling his bluff and letting that one run too long.
Yeah, so we've done that with X-Man, right? I was thinking Xavier Howard right off the top, like, hey, how about we do a little bit of this and add this, and if you do this and get through this year, and then we'll see. And then they may have to take somebody's bluff, man. They may take somebody's bluff through camp. I hope not. It is so nice when you go to camp, and I know it doesn't happen all the time, and don't have a guy that's key that's sitting out, and is he coming back? And I think that Connor's playing a pretty good hand on the Miami Dolphins. Let's get right to it here. I mean, you and I have talked about the tackle position, the guard position. Do we have 7 or 8 quality guys? Do we have enough guys on the outside? And then adding a guy that has – Liam Eichenberg has struggled at a lot of different positions, man, to just think we're going to run him into center and like, hey, if you don't come back, we got our center. Yeah? Really? I don't know if that's the case. So it will be an interesting one. I hope they get it worked out. I do. Hey, listen, great job by the front office, Chris Greer, and the coaching staff to have vision what Connor Williams could be, because that one surprised me. When one of the first days he said, hey, I'm moving to center. I'm really fired up about it. And he ends up being as good as he was. That doesn't always happen.
So I wanted to ask you about expectations versus reality, but you've kind of given me a rabbit hole. I'd love to dive down a little bit here, talking about how much you love this defense and whether that's the front or the secondary. And I mean, just kind of talk big picture. Obviously, you bring in David Long and Jalen Ramsey to add to the nucleus that you had last year, and acquired Bradley Chubb at the trade deadline, and kind of played throughout an ankle thing throughout the second half of the season that felt like it slowed him down a little bit at times. So, when Miami's been at its best, whether it's been the 70s or, except for even the Killer Bees in the 80s, but then the early 2000s, defense really was a pillar of some of these highly successful stretches of play for the Dolphins. So talk about this group and what you love so much about it, particularly on the back end.
Well, let's talk about the coach first. Just listening to those guys talk about Vic Fangio, a little bit old school. He's going to be able to talk to him a little bit differently than young coaches because they see his resume. They know he knows what he's doing. He's had success as a defensive coordinator everywhere he's been. They know that. They've seen some of the numbers, even what he did in Chicago, and they're going, wow. And his Denver Bronco defenses, even when he was there as a head coach, they're still pretty good. And so I think those guys see that. I think it was an issue last year with the defensive coordinator they had, Coach Boyer. Not everybody was on the same page and style of defense and things, and some guys felt too frozen to certain positions. There wasn't enough freedom to make plays. Numbers went down. I think Vic's going to bring out the best in all of those guys. I think he studies getting a feel for everybody. And I just think that they're going to have a chance. I think pass rushing numbers, sacks, pressures will go up. And as you know, the best thing with coverage is a great pass rush. You got to get rid of the ball a little bit earlier than you want, and you throw it. You try to anticipate with a guy in your face. And I just think there's going to be a chance for X-Man and Ramsey to really make a lot of plays on the back end. And Javon Holland should be, he's just too good athlete not to have his hands on the more footballs, either batting them down or a chance to intercept them. I like the depth. People have asked me, and at first I was like, what are we doing? Drafting with our first pick, a defensive back. And then I and it's going on and my phone's blowing up. What are we doing? We need a tight end. We need an offensive lineman. And then I remember last year and I was like, and you and I talked about this. It's like, ooh, you're right. We had a lot of guys get hurt, right? A lot of guys went down. Jones, Needham. We got guys on the outside so banged up. We're bringing up all our special teams guys. The two guys were here to play special teams had to end up playing as starters and as nickelbacks when we were so banged up. And it changes how you play when you start, instead of playing your 1, 2, and 3 corners, you're playing 4, 5, and 6, or 3, 4, and 5, and safeties now have to come up and they have to play cover corner in the slots or inside. So they were going to make sure that wasn't going to happen. Said Nick Needham's coming back. We're going to get him healthy, take all the time you need, because he was so good in the slot before he got hurt and the year before. I think they love their rookie. I think they love Cam Smith. I not going to be surprised. Cater Kahu with all the experience he has. And then, the two guys, man, that we need to play like stars they are. They've been Pro Bowlers. They've been all pro. It's time for Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard to play that way. Stay healthy and play that way. And if something happens, we're not going to throw in the tent, because we still got a lot of guys with a lot of experience. So I'm looking forward to it. Hey, listen, Igbenogany's going to have trouble if everybody stays healthy and everybody comes back. It's going to be hard for him to be on this team, first-round pick or not. It's going to be really difficult to keep him, especially if he can't play special teams. We can't have him inactive, or maybe you can for depth on the practice squad. But we're going to make sure that position got plenty of guys that are going to get a chance to get a lot of snaps in preseason.
I think it was the Pittsburgh game last year. They dressed 4 corners total for the game. I was like, Noah played the whole game because they had to, because it was Bethel got an interception on a slot fade down the sideline.
And Igbenogany has the game winner in the corner. Yeah.
Right. But, and then you think about guys like Trill Williams was a promising player, and we may see him get a chance to move around. There's been kind of some context clues on social media that he might get some cross-training at safety at training camp and see if there's more versatility to tap into there.
Yeah. They
brought Bethel back as well, and they have Keon Crossan back, and he's getting $3 million this season. So,
yeah.
Like you said, they legitimately have probably 8 or 9 corners that you make a viable argument are NFL roster caliber corners that will be on a 53 somewhere, but you ain't going to carry with this safety room. You ain't going to carry 9 of them here.
Yeah, that all of a sudden is the most loaded position you have, although I look at the backup wide receivers. I think Anderson's got a chance to be really good. Just watching him run in practice, he can still run. He gets past people. He's smooth on that lean, tall body. Man, he could be a nice addition. Braxton Berrios, Wilson Jr. as well, who wants to be here. And I was talking to him, man. He goes, man, this is going to be a great opportunity. I think tight end snaps were taken on 2nd and 3rd and long. Mike Gesicki took. I think a wide receiver gets a lot of those snaps now, and those targets will go to a wide receiver or a slot receiver.
So we've talked about the defense and some of the exciting depth that appears there, and I agree with you. I think even on the offensive side of the ball, the peripheral players, not your star pillars that are the identity of your team, but the players that if somebody's going to commit to bracketing both of 10 and 17 and say somebody else has got to beat us, there were defenses late in the year that did that, and the guys who had their number called were inconsistent in doing it. I think between Berrios and Chosen and Ezukama as a second-year player who's kind of learned the offense a little bit, and then A-Chain as a third-round draft selection receiving the ball out of the backfield, you have to feel like they have more players that have the dynamic athleticism to kind of challenge you if you're going to leave in one-on-one situations with no help.
Well, you know one thing, Mike loves speed. I mean,
Right.
a lot of guys talk about loving speed. He goes out and gets it. And, it's hard for me to imagine if somebody wanted to line up and the NFL decided before the season started to have the NFL relays that somebody would beat what the Miami Dolphins would throw at you offensively with Mostert, A-Chain, and our two wide receivers, Waddle and Tyreek Hill, would be one hell of a 400 relay team. Holy smokes.
Yeah, they can fly. So that's the
So
strength
I
of
think
the team.
A-Chain becomes a big part of that, and they're going to get him snaps where he doesn't have to worry about blocking blitzing linebackers and get him in a situation out in space where if he breaks a tackle and maybe runs some routes one-on-one with a two-way go in the slot, boy, those could be fun to watch because somebody makes a mistake. You're talking about 10, 200 meters.
Right.
I don't know what we're talking in a 40. You know a lot more about those 40s, but if it's not a high 4.2, it's a real low 4.3
Right.
times I'm not familiar with.
10 200s are something crazy.
Stupid. We got a couple of those guys. Who the hell's going around running 10, 200 meters,
Right.
man? It's crazy.
Right. So that's the strength of the team. How about the Achilles heels? We get ready to wrap this up. Just as you look at where this roster's at now, we've talked and alluded to a little bit with the offensive line and concern there. Is it interior depth? If we're assuming that Connor Williams will be ready to go week 1 and whether he comes back and it's just sending a message and he's here for training camp or they do get a contract done, assuming Connor's back, is this you want another starting caliber player? Does it need to be an interior guy? Does it need to be a tackle? Is there anywhere else that you are concerned as being a potential Achilles heel for this team?
So I think you and I disagree on it from what you told me on the radio, but I am still worried about injuries off of what I saw last year and history at the tackle position. Mm-hmm. I keep hearing nice things about Austin Jackson. I just need to see him.
See it.
He's played left guard, played left tackle, and he gets a chance at right tackle and he gets injured. I don't know if he got 60 total plays in a right tackle and was out for the year. So I got to see it, and I got to see him stay healthy. So, and Teron, as good as he is, and he's really good. I mean, he is. You talk about a natural base, natural left tackle. Makes it just incredible what he does. But you got to stay. Part of success is being on the football field. And when he's on the football field, even when he's a little banged up, he's pretty damn good. But to me, your biggest insurance policy has to be your quarterback and your tackle position, the two positions that I think our fan base should be most concerned with, because you're going to have to play. We played with so many tackles last year, so many different guys.
5,
we had tackles
6.
we signed and got hurt in practice that never played. And, guys that had been really good in the past, but it pulled calf muscles and all kinds of stuff. But so those are ones to worry, because in my mind, I'm already set that I'm saying to myself, I need a guy who can play left and right tackle, or if you can find one that feels more comfortable, one on the left, one on the right, if that's what it's going to take. And their mindset has to be that they got to know they're going to have to play 4 or 5 games. Mm-hmm. And so that, to me, and of course, the other topic that's been beat to death, and that's Tua Tagovailoa staying healthy, and Mike White's aware of the whole situation, and Skyler's aware of the whole situation. But those would be the two biggest concerns I have, and it's because the injury bug that I've seen at both those positions. It's funny. I'm not so sure that Robert Hunt's not the next best tackle that we have, and my mindset has always been maybe he needs to be the next right tackle. But I understand. They're like, we don't want to do that to him. We really, unless we get in a real bad situation like we did a couple times last year, we really want to keep him at right guard. And because we think he can be really good there. Oh, okay. Well, boy, I'll tell you what, I don't want to go every year going, well, maybe our next best tackle after the starters, if somebody goes down, is Robert Hunt. Now, he'll play wherever and stuff, but I feel better that we can cover up guards. The tackle positions on the outside have always concerned me more. It's just me.
No, it's a good point. And look, I thought Rob Hunt played a really good game in the playoff game against the Bills at right tackle, starting at right tackle when you're down to Lester Cotton starting at guard, because just the numbers were so barren at offensive tackle. And I think you could even include the starters and make a case that Robert Hunt is the second best tackle on the team behind Teron Armstead.
Well,
I don't think that's a bad take at all.
Well, durability you got to start with. I mean, part of Austin Jackson has been he hasn't been good enough when he played at other positions.
Right.
He got a fresh start with Mike McDaniel and the new blocking style that they have, blocking schemes and the wide blocks and wide blocking they want to do, and said Austin's going to be perfect for it. And then he gets injured all season. And, only one thing worse than not playing well is being injured, right? That's the order. And if you can't play, then, we're looking for guys. We're looking to get guys in there, and you're facing the best pass rushers in the league on the outside or teeing off on you, and they're putting schemes together how to attack you and get to the quarterback. And so that's where I am. Two most positions, nothing defensively. Nothing defensively. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I think we're good enough defensively, and Vic can cover up whatever we don't have. And by the way, I didn't say tight end either. I think we got blocking tight ends. We got tight end to catch passes, maybe a little bit run down the seam. But I'm looking at 4 wide. That group of running backs that know the system. The San Francisco treat is back, Wilson and Mostert, so we're fine. They know Mike better than Mike, and they really want to be back here with them. And if they don't get a deal done with Dalvin Cook, I think they're fine where they are. So I'm not worried about the two biggest positions I'm worried about, and it starts with health, is tackle and quarterback. And the second part is, are we good enough when healthy at tackle? That will be the second part. Well,
Joe, this has been a great conversation about the Dolphins. I know our platform here on Locked On Dolphins appreciates it as always. It's great chatting with you. We got to get back together again soon. I
had this Dolphin buildup, man. It was just, I had to get this stuff out, man. And the way to do it is on your show. It's so good. Hey, listen, and I say this stuff, and people, we need this and we need that. And hey, listen, I thought the tight end position. See, I'm not even done. I've been drinking this coffee, and I'm just going like a madman here. I thought tight end was going to be a priority in the draft.
Right.
I was wrong. I thought this year with that talented tight end class, they had Kittle in San Francisco, and I just thought Mike had dreams of Kittle about the way they developed him and turned him into the best all-around tight end in the NFL, blocking and catching a rock, and I was wrong.
So Mike's definitely got his own spin on this offense for sure. He's not married to that San Francisco blueprint.
No, he's not.
And I think that's a good thing. We'll see if it works this year with kind of where they expected they were going to go versus where they actually did. But credit where credit's due. He very clearly has a clear vision for what he wants his imprint on this team to be. And last year was a great launch point for it. And now it's about finishing what you started.
Hey, Kyle, it's a great point. Mike didn't just copy what Shanahan did. He had his own spin of what he wanted. Speed, because this team's much faster than his San Francisco team. I'm not saying a lot of people think they have the best skill position starting group at San Francisco in the NFL when you look at their big receivers and their great tight end and the sign McCaffrey at running back. But listen, he's got a little different, 3,000 yards and 2 receivers on the outside. And that's a lot of horsepower to start with right there.
Well, Joe, I look forward to, at the very least, seeing you down in training camp here in about six weeks or so. So I
sitting right next to you, my man, not letting you leave so you can break things down right next to me.
Very good. I'm looking forward to it. Joe, thanks for coming on the show, catching up. We'll definitely talk before training camp, but wanted to at least say looking forward to seeing you here at the end of July and rubbing elbows here and watching this team practice here in the very near future.
Hey, and I know we don't do this on the show, and before I say goodbye, your friends down in South Florida, we got to get everybody together. They want to go out. They want to hit that barbecue that they tease me with before one of those games. We got to give a shout out to those guys. And definitely.
And Andy, Greg, and Susan have been just wonderful friends that I have made since I've started coming down to games. They ran
Sounds
into
good,
you,
man.
and we'll get the barbecue fired up. We'll have the chef fire up the barbecue and enjoy.
All right,
the
sounds
game.
good, Kyle.
All right, Joe. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me.
You take care of yourself, bud.
So that's going to do it for our discussion with Joe. Dear friend, as always, expected we get some great conversation out of him, and unsurprisingly, that's exactly what we got. I am excited to say we will have more guests this week on Locked On Dolphins. I'm going to leave it a surprise, but want to talk a little bit about some of the rookies that have everybody's attention. We're going to talk about them with somebody who knows them very well. That's scheduled to. I'm scheduled to sit down with them tomorrow, and excited to get into that. In the meantime, if you're looking for more Dolphins content, I am going to be on the Bleacher Report app tonight, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to talk about optimizing the Dolphins' 53-man roster and what an ideal depth chart looks like. So it's kind of a bonus episode of Locked On Dolphins over at Bleacher Report. It's the first time for me working with Bleacher Report, which I'm obviously very excited for. So come on out, show support, and get involved. It is a conversation in which it'll be a live stream, and there'll be comments and opportunities for you guys to chip in throughout that conversation. So 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on the Bleacher Report app. I will be talking about the Dolphins and an ideal depth chart and what that looks like as well. But we are out of here for now. We got lots to do today, and I'm going to keep on grinding. So it is your team every day here on the Locked On Network. I want to thank you guys who are everydayers and are dialed in on a daily basis. If you enjoyed the show, you enjoyed the interview, you enjoyed the podcast, hit subscribe. If you're on YouTube, you can find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Like the video, comment for the algorithm, tell your friends. Let's grow this community before the season rolls around so that we can have the best possible experience that we can all have together here on Locked On Dolphins. It is your team every day. I'm out of here. Fins up. Talk to you soon. Peace.